Good evening from the Spotlight series of the Cowesett Inn. I'm your host, Scott Nerney. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this information. This is vital information for folks, the local community, nationwide. There's a lot to understand here, and we're with one of the experts, Vito, from One Pill Can Kill RI and onepillcankillma.org. Wants to talk to you a little bit about the fentanyl crisis in local areas and nationwide especially. Vito, you have a close relationship to the situation. Why don't you tell some of our newer viewers or remind some of the viewers that your experience in this area?
My son passed away. It's been almost a year now from a counterfeit pill. It was an Adderall pill that was laced with a deadly amount of fentanyl. And I found him after 2 days. And I really didn't know much about, I heard about fentanyl, but I didn't know all the details. So over the last year, we've done our research based on the state of Rhode Island and DEA's data, and we formed a non-for-profit public awareness foundation. Okay, and Rhode Island companies have been tremendous in contributing private contributions to get the word out about counterfeit pills and illicit drugs that are laced with fentanyl, how lethal they are, okay? And to inform the public that there is no such thing as safe or safer drug use anymore, okay? Those days are gone, okay? So anyone that's thinking about buying something, an illicit drug off the street, whether it's coke, whether it's heroin, whether it's counterfeit pills, you're playing Russian roulette with your life, okay?
Let's take a look at the numbers. This really started around 2018 with a lot of what they thought would be good awareness programs or getting the news out. In 2018, I'm just looking at some numbers. We had 226 deaths in Rhode Island. Over the next few years, it started to climb: 214, 282, 334, 323, 314. Last year, in 2023, it was over 400. And it's on par so far, the semi-annual numbers showing it's going to likely be over 400 again. That's one Rhode Islander every day, more than one Rhode Islander every day passing away. And one of the things that a lot of states brought to bear, if you could talk about at a high level first, is Kristen's Law in 2018 that should have curbed a lot of this. Why don't you give an overview of what that law was intended to do and how it's worked?
Well, the law was intended to hold drug dealers accountable for their act for selling a substance on the street that, and if they sell a substance on the street and it kills their client, they could go to jail for a long time for murder. Or I don't know whether it's murder 1 or murder 2 or whatever.
Sure.
Okay, but Rhode Island passed it. Okay, Gina Raimondo signed it. And let me tell you a little bit about what happened that led to the state of Rhode Island putting this into place. There were 2 people living in a shelter, and they decided to buy an illicit drug off the street from a particular individual. I don't even think he was a Rhode Island resident. I think it was from Massachusetts. So they bought, and I'm not sure whether it was coke or whether it was heroin, but it was laced with a deadly amount of fentanyl. So they bought the they bought the illicit drug from this particular individual. They both went back to I think they were living in a shelter. Okay, they both injected it IV. Okay, they picked up clean needles. Okay, which is a good thing. Clean needles are a good thing to prevent the spread of AIDS or hepatitis or any other diseases that are transmitted through dirty needles. And they both went to sleep, okay, from the fentanyl, which fentanyl does, okay. And they were one person woke up and went to check on the other person, and that other person was non-responsive, okay. But before when they bought the illicit drug off the street, they also picked up Narcan. And this is a Narcan, and let me explain what Narcan is. It reverses the effects of an opioid, which fentanyl is. Okay, um, and they did use the buddy system. Okay, which many states tell you if you're going to use drugs, so make sure you use it with somebody else, because if you pass out, you can't squirt Narcan up your nose if you're passed out. Okay, if you're laying on the floor unconscious. Okay, and your brain, we call them breaths per minute, BPMs are reduced. Okay, so they were unable to. This particular individual was unable to. The person that passed out was non-responsive. They called uh, emergency medical services. They tried to inject. Um, they tried to inject um, um, Narcan. Okay, and this person, and they were didn't do any good, and this person died. Okay, so they tracked down this particular individual that sold them that sold them the illicit drugs that resulted in a death. Okay, and they arrested him. Okay, and he had an ankle bracelet on him, so it was very easy to track him with GPS. Okay, so but the what this article says is that just because you pick up Narcan and clean needles, and you use with a buddy, okay, illicit drugs. This article specifically says that it's still Russian roulette. You okay? So no matter, and this is clean needles, Narcan, fentanyl test strips, use with a buddy. Is all part of what is called a harm reduction program. Okay. And again, what we are learning in the United States is that when you flood the market with Narcan, clean needles, fentanyl test strips, and you tell the general public there is a safer way to use drugs with clean needles, Narcan, fentanyl test strips, use with a buddy. Okay, what we're finding is we still have a tremendous amount of deaths. Okay, the deaths and we can see that in many states where the deaths have skyrocketed. Okay,
And using Narcan with a buddy in that situation didn't help because both buddies got the effect of the drug and passed out. So both of them having a Narcan in their hand was useless.
Correct. Right.
It's not like taking a designated driver to a bar who doesn't drink and can drive everyone home, saving them from an automobile accident. These folks are both going to be completely out of it.
Right. That is correct. What we're finding out in the United States is that um, uh, just once you put an illicit drug in your body, and it begins to take hold of your body. Okay, it begins to have an effect on your body. You literally have minutes. Okay, not a half hour, not an hour, not 20 minutes. Okay, you literally have less than 10 minutes, or sometimes less than 6 minutes. Okay, to shoot that Narcan up their nose while if they're not breathing, you can shoot all the Narcan you want up their nose. It ain't gonna do any good. Okay, so you have to administer Narcan immediately when this opioid takes its effect on a particular individual. If you don't, what happens is the carbon dioxide level goes up in their body, the oxygen goes down, and what you end up with is brain damage. Okay, the normal person breathes at 15 breaths per minute. What an a tremendous amount, more than the DEA says 2.4 milligrams is lethal. Okay, so if you put 4 milligrams of fentanyl in you, either with a pill or an IV or whatever. IV is worse because it has an immediate effect. Okay, you the response time is, again, is you have minutes, okay, to administer the Narcan, and even then it's Russian roulette because the more fentanyl that's put in your body, that requires more Narcan. Okay, and then once you administer the Narcan, and if that person becomes conscious, the opioid will has the ability to take over that body to reverse that effect. Okay, and so you have to take so you may need. I think the emergency. I think most ambulances, the average is about 4 of these boxes. Okay, to reverse an overdose of of uh, an overdose from fentanyl. Okay, now many states are sending out fentanyl test strips and Narcan. Okay, and it is clearly Russian roulette because based on the DEA data, okay, pills tested in DEA laboratories average 2.4 milligrams of fentanyl, but have ranged from 0.2 milligrams to as high as 9 milligrams. Okay, so when you put that counterfeit pill in your body, you have no idea what the amount of fentanyl in it, and again, it's Russian roulette. Just because you have Narcan with you,
One of the things I think is important to also say, or two things, is one, the person who's selling illicit pills or drugs isn't a buddy, isn't a friend. He's someone that's breaking the law and is not out for your best interest. And the case of Kristen's law was more than pleased that some people are going to die from his drugs because they got a nice high off it, or he was well known for that. And the second thing is, having the harm reduction items. If we see those skyrocket, the amount of test strips, I see them at the drugstores. The Narcan that's out there is tenfold what it used to be, and the deaths are continuing to be as high as they ever have in all over the country. It's not a stop reduction. It's not a harm reduction. It's another tool, but the fact that it's still happening is really horrible. It's in Rhode Island, a person a day isn't being saved by harm reduction. They're passing away.
yeah,
It's getting worse.
the Rhode Island data shows that they every year since 2020, I think it's 2020, they've they doubled the amount of Narcan going into the community. Okay, and the same thing with these fentanyl test strips, and yet the deaths are still increasing every year. Okay, so the question is, how much of this Narcan is being used for recreational drug use? Okay, and once you start on a recreational drug use path, we all know that fentanyl is highly addicting. It's high. If you, I don't know how many times it takes before. I don't know how many pills it takes before you become addicted to the high feeling of fentanyl. Okay, and it's a very short high. Okay, so that's why they put xylazine. Sometimes they mix xylazine with fentanyl which is a horse tranquilizer, to prolong that high. Okay, and that only compounds the problem. Okay, so, but what I want to emphasize to the public is, I don't care what state you live in, whether it's California, whether it's Virginia, whether it's Massachusetts, whether it's Ohio, whether it's Illinois, and I'm sure you can get Narcan just about anywhere now. Okay, just because you have Narcan with you, you are still playing Russian roulette. And Russian roulette is the old Western where they had the 6-shooter. They put one round in the chamber, okay? and eventually, if you keep squeezing the trigger, okay, and you put it near your head, you're gonna blow your head off. Okay, so it's like giving a first aid kit to someone and saying it's okay to play Russian roulette. Okay, so
By themselves, because if they shot themselves in the head, the kit's not going to be much use.
and even if you have a buddy,
Right.
and you take a counterfeit pill with 8 milligrams in it, okay, there is no statistically there's no amount of Narcan that's going to bring you back.
Right.
Okay, and who knows how long before the ambulance gets there? Okay, and they can administer and once someone stops breathing or they go into cardiac arrest, statistically, you have a very, very low chance of coming back and leading a normal life. Most people, first of all, most people that go into cardiac arrest or stop breathing, they don't come back. Okay, they die. Okay, and I've seen that dozens of times in the hospitals. I used to go to I would get called down to the ER with all the cardiac arrest. Okay, and very few people actually lived. Okay, and the ones that do live, generally they have brain damage.
Yeah, not the same.
You're not the same person, and it takes. Sometimes they never recover. They have permanent brain damage. They can't talk. They can't walk. They can't feed themselves. They can't do the normal things that human beings do every day. Okay, and sometimes it takes years and years and years of rehab. Okay, just to get them to walk and talk. Okay, and to be able to take care of themselves. Okay, to put clothes on, etc. Okay, so you're playing. This is very serious. This is not like going to the bar and taking a drink of alcohol, one drink. Okay, that one pill can kill you. Okay, and even with these fentanyl test strips, I want to emphasize to someone that if you don't test 100% of your counterfeit pill or whatever you buy off the street, okay, and a very, very small, 2.4 milligrams is a very, very small amount of a pill, okay? A small pill is 25 to 30 milligrams. So 2.4 milligrams is very small, okay? And if you only break off a portion of that pill, okay, and test it, then you're playing Russian roulette, okay? So there is no safe, and many states have adopted a policy of there is no safe or safer drug use, okay, because of the deaths have skyrocketed, okay? And I know for a fact many drug dealers that sell counterfeit pills give them a box of Narcan with the pills, okay? And that's a false sense of security. So is there anything you want to ask?
No, I think you're spot on. It's not just, and I think when people hear the word fentanyl, they think, oh, well, it's someone who's buying heroin and shooting up. It's people are buying counterfeit pills, illicit pills. It's cocaine, it's heroin, it's a dozen other things that are out there that shouldn't be done. And to think that you've got this insurance policy of a Narcan or a test strip is a false sense of security, because you really can't be sure what you have. And folks, if you think about whatever pill you may take in the morning, a lot of the pills are really tiny. In fact, in most pills, and correct me if I'm wrong, the tiniest little 5 milligram pill, a lot of that pill is filler from the regular drug companies, just so it's big enough so you can take it and swallow it. So think about that. The tiniest pill that you take, if you crush that up, the speck that you can't even see is enough fentanyl to cause a problem. So when you're thinking about, well, one pill, it's the tiniest little bit, we're not talking about what you see on the news that makes the nightly news, where they find a kilo of marijuana and big, huge bags of fentanyl, and they say, oh, this was $500,000 off the street. These are the tiniest bits. The next time you open a sugar packet and a couple of pieces of granules fall on the counter, that's how much fentanyl we're talking about that you don't even know is in the item. So if there's someone close to you that you think has some problems or is considering this or is doing some type of drugs, there's a lot of other resources out there. If you go to One Pill Can Kill RI, One Pill Can Kill MA.com, you'll be able to see a lot of the information that they have there. The education is the biggest point that Vito can get across, that it's not safe to do drugs. There's no safer way to put something that will likely kill you eventually in your body.
Correct. Yeah, and I just want to say that the deaths are the proof is in. I mean, the proof is the deaths, and it's not just Rhode Island. It's across the country. Okay, so I mean, Narcan is a wonderful life-saving drug, and it saved many people's lives, and many people use. There's a lot of people that have been brought back to life with Narcan, and they never use drugs again. Okay, but some people think it's a game. Well, I was brought back to life. I'm normal with the Narcan, and I'm going to keep using. Okay, so what you're doing is you keep squeezing you have an old 6-shooter, and eventually you put one round in the chamber, and all the other 5 chambers are empty, and you keep pulling the trigger. Eventually, you're going to hit that round. You're going to hit that chamber where that round is. Okay, and you're going to blow your head. You're going to kill yourself. Okay, so.
So folks, as you think about this and you're watching the close of this video, someone today passed away, and maybe even 2 people passed away in Rhode Island from fentanyl. Think about that. It could be one of your loved ones or a close friend. Now's the time to take action and bring awareness to this, that there is no safe way to do these illicit drugs, because someone just passed away today and yesterday and tomorrow, and sooner or later it will be in your community, your street, your family. We need to really pay attention to this now.
Yes. I don't know what else I want to say. That I just want to say that DEA has done a tremendous, wonderful job in providing the materials and information to the public. Their National Drug Threat Assessment, it's right here. They really have tackled the problem. I think their signs are dead on. Okay, to show that a very small portion of that pill will kill you. And it shows that 7 out of 10 pills that have fentanyl are lethal. So I mean, what else can they do? Okay, I mean, so that's all I have to say. Okay, so.
And thank you very much for coming on.